What's going on, everybody? It's Q from Retro Q Gaming, and here we are back at it with our ever so slightly changed up setup for episode 28 of our Quack Experimental Podcast. Luckily, with all this new setup I got going on, everything is so much better. I have so much more space, so much properly organized everything. It's great. It's going to help me a lot going forward, and I love it. But anyway, this week, not too much to talk about. I pretty much say that every week, but I feel like this week has the least amount of topics anyway. But hell, knowing me, I'll probably somehow just stretch them out without even trying. So let's get going with our first one anyway. Our first topic we're going to talk about today is Doom Eternal. Now, Doom Eternal, the sequel to Doom 2016, which was fantastic back then, is unfortunately delayed. Now, myself included, many people were really hyped for Doom Eternal, despite the hype machine being practically non-existent. I would consistently forget that the game is coming out, or was supposed to come out in 2019, because the marketing was just basically nowhere. It was so very strange. But anyway, it's supposed to be out in November of this year on all four platforms, the Xbox One, PS4, Switch, and PC. It is now delayed on all platforms. So it's delayed from November until March 20th of 2020. That's a terrible time to launch. Also, I should note as well that the Switch version is now delayed beyond March 20th, 2020 because, well, to get that game in any playable state that it will never hit will take even more work than beyond these few months. But that's a terrible time for this game to launch. Even looking at the PC release, which is obviously the only one we're playing, you're looking at March of 2020, as long as it doesn't suffer another delay. But let's look at in around that time. Now, I'm a gamer, you know. People will say I'm a PC fanboy. People will say this, that, and the other. People will say I hate company A or B or whatever. But let's look at all the different big games that I'm interested in, at least personally, out around then. Some of them are huge games anyway. Some of them are huge games for certain markets and whatnot. But in around that time, let's go with a month prior and a month after as well. You're looking at games like Cyberpunk 2077, one of the biggest lauded games, the biggest anticipated and highly rated games, or highly anticipated games, in how many years at this point? In so long. Final Fantasy VII Remake also launches in around there, something probably even bigger than Cyberpunk 2077. If you're like me, believe it or not, Animal Crossing launches on March 20th, 2020. Of course, that's not too bad looking at the Switch version because that's delayed even further, but still, in around that time, that's a game for me. I love Animal Crossing, believe it or not. And of course, The Last of Us Part 2, which launches a month prior to this. So we're looking at a month either side. So you can see it's a pretty packed triple month, or 3 month segment, whatever it is. So yeah, it's going to be a good time to be a gamer, basically, because you're going to have these big games. You're going to have Cyberpunk 2077, which is obviously going to be a huge game. Final Fantasy VII Remake, which is obviously going to be a huge game. Animal Crossing, which is going to be a fairly consistent, long-running game and all too. And of course, The Last of Us Part 2. Probably not going to be a huge game in the regards of the other two, because, well, it'll still be a decently big game from what I understand, especially because it has 2 discs. But you see the point. Couple all of that with Doom in there too. Fun times. Now, they have done one little extra as well to compensate for the delay, if you will. They have announced that Doom 64 will be made available on all 4 platforms as a pre-order bonus. If you already have an existing pre-order, obviously this will be added in on top of it, because there is a pre-order pack. I think it's like the Rip and Tear pack or something like that. I don't remember the name of it. But it will be added in on top of that as well. And it's going to release on March 20th on all 4 platforms. Even though the Switch version of Doom Eternal is delayed beyond that, March 20th is when the Switch will get Doom 64. So you still get that a little bit early. It would have been nice to get it now as a pre-order bonus. Let's say even if you downloaded it now, you would forfeit your right to refund your pre-order or anything like that. I would be okay with that, because I'd like to play Doom 64 now again, to be honest. I played it once or twice back in the N64 days. I didn't own it, but I'm looking forward to playing it. That'll be added in on there too. Doom Eternal is going to be super hype. I can't wait for it next year. It's going to be more Doom, which I absolutely loved. It was one of my favorite games of 2016, which is kind of sad in a way. Next up, we got some more PC news. We got some Red Dead Redemption 2 news. As promised by Rockstar a few days ago when the game was officially announced for PC, they promised that on October 9th, some more details would be revealed about the game, including a couple of extra important things. Some of the big differences and improvements over the console version, as well as the system requirements, which are all big important things. Now, I would talk about this normally anyway, but there's a couple of things that happened this week that will help this compound a couple of other topics into a different section I want to talk about later. So we'll go through them first anyway. Red Dead Redemption 2 system requirements as per Rockstar. Minimum specifications. Operating system Windows 7 Service Pack 1 6.1.7601. Processor Intel Core i5 2500K or AMD FX 6300. I think it's very funny that an 8-year-old i5 is the minimum requirement, which still blasts even the Xbox One X away by a huge amount. Memory 8GB, graphics card NVIDIA GeForce 770 2GB or AMD Radeon R9 280 3GB. I think that's a little bit funny as well when you think about it, considering that a lot of the PS4 and Xbox One games, as a baseline standard, have required something like a 660 as that's their equivalent GPU power, basically. Many games, except for some of the more recent ones in 2019, have required a minimum of a 660. You have a couple of games like Control, Metro Exodus, and now Red Dead Redemption 2 that are bucking that trend and going a little bit stronger. Kind of makes sense, considering especially when Red Dead Redemption 2 has been praised as one of the best looking games on the consoles. Anyway, space, hard drive space, 150 gigabytes, and a sound card, obviously DirectX compatible. Now they've also gone out and said the recommended specs, which are operating system of Windows 10, April 2018 update, version 1803. Processor Intel Core i7 4770K or an AMD Ryzen 5 1500X. Memory of 12GB and a graphics card of an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1066GB or an AMD Radeon RX 480 4GB. They've also said, again, hard drive space 150GB and a sound card DirectX compatible. There's no word on what resolution or frame rate that these will target. For example, sometimes when you look at games, their minimum recommended or their minimum specs will give 720p, low settings 30 FPS, while maybe recommended settings will be high 1080p 60 FPS. They haven't said anything about what they're targeting specifically in relation to the minimum and recommended specs, but I think it's safe to say that if GTA 5 is anything to go by, which I believe is the same engine as this, because as far as I know they all use the Rage engine, it's the Rockstar Advanced Game Engine, not Rage as in ID Tech stuff, but if GTA 5 is anything to go by, the game is going to run exceptionally well. It's going to be very well optimized. And I am looking forward to seeing what people have to say about the performance and the technical side of it when it comes to Red Dead Redemption 2. I'm expecting it to run really well, and I'm expecting it to look gorgeous. Of course, when we're talking about a game coming to PC and looking gorgeous and whatnot too, included here are some of the extra additional features and bonuses and improvements and all on the PC Master Race version as opposed to the console pleb version. We have increased draw distance, higher quality global illumination and ambient occlusion. For those of you out there who only speak console, that's higher quality lighting and higher quality shadows. You also have improved snow trails, improved reflections and higher resolution shadows. Again, even better shadows and all and reflections there too. Tessellated tree textures, improved grass and fur textures, HDR support, unlocked resolution of 4K and above, and ultra-wide aspect ratio and multi-monitor support. And of course, probably the most important thing, an unlocked frame rate. So no 30 FPS bullshit here. This game is going to run buttery smooth, control buttery smooth, and that, of course, is the important stuff. Now, we're going to quickly move away from Red Dead Redemption 2 onto our next segment, and I do want to say, out of everything in this Red Dead Redemption 2 segment that we talked about, just keep an eye on the space requirement. Keep that one in your mind for what's going to come next, which will be added together with this one, and then we'll roll into our big topic, the discussion side of it anyway. So remember, Red Dead Redemption 2 on console launched with 2 Blu-rays and has had multiple patches, adding more since. Red Dead Redemption 2, when it launches on PC in November, is going to require 150 gigabytes of storage space. Remember those numbers. So keeping with the same theme and whatnot too, we have Call of Duty Modern Warfare. Now Activision have released all the system requirements and whatnot of Call of Duty and Modern Warfare. I was going to call it Advanced Warfare. Call of Duty Modern Warfare. They've said a couple of other things, like it's going to include NVIDIA Ansel, which is always fantastic. Personally, I'm not really interested in the game. I won't be buying it, but I love to see Ansel included in games. That's brilliant in that regard. But anyway, they've released a couple of different system requirements for Modern Warfare. Now, they've put out 4.5 different versions of system requirements. You may be wondering, Q, how did they do a 0.5 version of system requirements? We'll get to that now in a minute. Anyway, we'll just run through them real quick. We'll talk about it a little bit more, and then we'll roll into the next topic, which is going to be the big important discussion for this one. Anyway, Modern Warfare's minimum requirements on PC requires a DirectX 12 compatible system, operating system of Windows 7 64-bit, which is funny because Windows 7 doesn't support DirectX 12. Or actually, I think they patched it to do that. Anyway, operating system Windows 7 64-bit with Service Pack 1, Windows 10 64-bit. CPU Intel Core i3-4340 or AMD FX 6300. Video card NVIDIA GeForce GTX 670 or by modern equivalents a GTX 1650 or Radeon HD 7950. 8GB of RAM, 170 gig of HD storage space, hard drive storage space, not HD as in high def or anything, and of course broadband internet connection, sound card, blah blah blah. They haven't said what that's targeting, just like Red Dead Redemption. Again, I would assume it would possibly be 30 FPS or 60 FPS with low resolution and low settings. They also have the recommended spec, which is quoted to run at 60 FPS in most situations with all options set to medium. Requires a DirectX 12 compatible system, operating system of Windows 10 64-bit and the latest update, a CPU Intel Core i5 2500K or AMD Ryzen R5 1600X. GPU is an NVIDIA GeForce 970, the worst graphics card ever to exist, or GTX 1660 in the more modern equivalents. And AMD side, you're looking at a Radeon R9 390 or an AMD RX 580. 12 gigabytes of RAM and 170 gig of storage space. Now they've also said, because remember I said they've 4.5 versions of the system requirements, they've also said recommended spec for use with ray tracing. So if you want to use the recommended system requirements and ray tracing, you have to obviously have a DirectX 12 compatible system, the same operating system, the same CPU and the same Ryzen CPU or the same Intel CPU. Of course, 16 gigabytes of RAM this time, and an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 2060 or higher if you want to use the recommended specs to get 60 FPS in most situations with all options set to medium, as well as ray tracing. Curiously enough, this one lists 45 gig of hard drive space. Not sure if that's an additional 45 gig or if it's just a little bit of a typo. Now, they also gave out the competitive specs, which they list as competitive specs to run at a high frame rate for use with high refresh monitors. Requires a DirectX 12 compatible system, operating system of Windows 10 64-bit with the latest update. CPU is a considerable jump at an Intel i7 8700K or an AMD Ryzen 1800X. Video card, you're looking at an NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1080 or an RTX 2080 Super or a Radeon RX Vega 64. 16 gigs of RAM and 175 gig of storage space. And of course, they've listed what they call the Ultra RTX settings. So the Ultra RTX specs are to run the game at a high frame rate in 4K resolution with ray tracing. Requires a DirectX 12 compatible system, operating system of Windows 10 64-bit latest update, Intel i7 9700K or AMD Ryzen 2700X, an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 2080 Super. So unless you have a 2080 Super, a 2080 Ti, or a Titan RX or Titan RTX, you're in trouble. RAM of 16 gigabytes and hard drive space of 175 gigabytes. So all of that aside, there's not too much to talk about in that regard, but I do want to point to the hard drive requirements in this game. And we will harken back to the previous segment for 1 second to talk about the hard drive requirements of Red Dead Redemption 2, which were 150 gigabytes. Now, keep all of that in mind when we move on to our next section. So our next little discussion phase that rolls the two previous topics as well as just general other topic within itself is hard drive storage requirements and if they're good, if they're bad and whatnot. Naturally, games have been getting bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes by. This has happened since the dawn of time when games would originally fit on one single 1.44 MB floppy disks, and now we have them taking up multiple 50 gigabyte Blu-rays. So you can see that as time goes by, as resolution increases, unless you're on consoles, as everything goes by, as detail, technology, everything improves over time. And of course, that includes visual fidelity. Now, as games get bigger and resolutions get bigger and worlds get bigger, more detail can be put into these larger textures. Otherwise, you might have a game running at native 4K and you have this crappy little tiny, maybe 500 by 500 resolution texture that just gets completely stretched out and looks absolutely awful. It's blurry, it's low resolution, there's practically no detail. So, naturally, developers want to show on PC the best version of all of their games, the best platform to game on. Because we can run these, we can display these properly and still have a proper playable game and proper playable frame rate at the same time. Developers want to showcase the best looking version of their game. They know that people can run these games properly, they can display them properly, and they will do so. So they want to make better quality games. Otherwise, we'd still be playing games with PS2 quality textures. We'd be running really low resolution stuff. After all, what's the point of having a PS3, an Xbox 360, a PS4, an Xbox One if you're going to use low quality everything like on a PS2? You see what I mean here? Now, this begs the question. A lot of people have been complaining these days. Mainly you have the, we'll call them the Japanese dev fanboys, because they like to throw the blame specifically on Western devs, but no, that's not the case at all. But you have big games these days that have over 100 gigabytes of storage space. Final Fantasy 15, which is currently the biggest released game as it stands at the moment. Remember, Red Dead Redemption 2 is not out on PC just yet, and of course, what's the other one? Call of Duty Modern Warfare, which we'll talk about now more in a minute, is still not out yet as well. So that is 150 and 175 gigabytes of games that don't count. But these people, and just people in general, forget that Final Fantasy 15 is currently the biggest PC game ever, hard drive size-wise. Final Fantasy 15 and all its content is 160 gigabytes. Now, that is a gorgeous looking game. Out of every game I've ever played, off the top of my head, Final Fantasy 15 is one of the best looking games released as it is at the moment. I have played 2 games at the moment that look what I would consider that look like modern PC games. There's so many games out there that don't look like modern PC games, even though they released in 2019. But those, the other one being Metro Exodus, Final Fantasy 15 running at max settings on PC, as well as Metro Exodus running on max settings at PC, look like true next generation PC games. They're gorgeous. Say what you want about both of the games, they're average in quality. In fact, Final Fantasy 15 is dirt. But still, they look gorgeous. They look and feel like proper quality games. And of course, to do this, developers need proper assets. You can't be running with very low-res console-grade textures or previous generation textures if you're going to make these cutting-edge, gorgeous-looking modern games. So you have games like Final Fantasy 15, 160 gigabytes, Call of Duty Modern Warfare up to 175 gigabytes. Again, more on that now in a second. Red Dead Redemption 2, 150 gigabytes. Gears of War 4, I think it's 10 or 113 gigabytes. Halo 5 on console is over 100 gigabytes. I think it's like 105, 107 at this point. So to get all of this quality, they have to do this. People are making this out to be a bad thing. Absolutely not. Do not retard progress. Do not hold everything back just so your hard drive space or whatever it is. In the case of PC gaming, hard drive space is easy to come by. Even if you're going with solid state drives, which you rightfully should be for gaming, because at this point, using a hard drive in 2019 for gaming is woo lad. But don't hold back. Don't use console grade textures. Imagine not Final Fantasy, because imagine, let's say, I don't know. I'm trying to think of a game. Modern game number 247. Using PS3 quality textures. Sure, the game would be considerably smaller, but it would look like shit. Compression is not the option either. Many people will say, oh, they can compress this, they can compress that, they can compress the other. Compression leads to a variety of issues, or a variety of potential issues as well. Not to mention load times. No one likes load times. Here on PC, we have basically eradicated loading times to the point where what you guys are now going to experience with the Xbox 2.4 and the PS5, we've been doing for 6 years. That's right. You guys have loading screens in games like Fallout 4, which are several minutes long. We load them in 3 to 5 seconds. We have games, modern games even, that there's a meme going around where we load the game so fast we can't even read the tooltip on the screen. You know why it's a meme? Because it's true. No one wants all this crappy progress held back because a handful of people QQ and bitch about it. Bring on the big games. Bring on a 200 gigabyte game. Could you think about it? The Last of Us Part 2. That's coming out on 2 Blu-rays. Who's going to bitch about that? No. We have to bitch about other stuff. We have to bitch about Western devs stop doing this. A quick reminder, of course, that Final Fantasy 15 is the biggest installed PC game in existence as it is right now because the other two are not released. And even then, Final Fantasy would be bigger than one of them. Technically, Final Fantasy would be bigger than both of them at first. Mainly because, I said I'd talk about it, Call of Duty Modern Warfare on PC, since it recommends up to 175 gigabytes, it's to make space and have appropriate space for all the post-launch content, all the post-launch DLC and updates and whatnot too. It'll be smaller at launch than 175 gigabytes, but probably after the end of their cycle, it will be around 175 gig. So you see why I don't understand why people see this as a bad thing. Bring on big games. Give me a 150 gigabyte game. What did I play recently? I don't know. I'm planning on playing Yakuza Kiwami 2. Remake Yakuza Kiwami 3. Don't just remaster, remake it. Give me Yakuza Kiwami 3 in a 150 gigabyte install size. Give me all those proper, appropriately detailed and textured 4K settings. That's what we want. We want progress. We want quality. We don't want pieces of shit. That's why when you look at a lot of the Nintendo games with the very simplistic art style and textures, they're very, very, very small games. Why? Because the texture resolution is extremely low. It can be extremely low given the style that they use, but in all these other modern games, absolutely not. Bring on progress. Bring on quality. Hard drive space is a non-issue. It should be a non-issue. Anyone who's complaining about it can shut the fuck up. But moving away from massive install sizes to practically non-existent install sizes, we have Mario Kart Tour. Now, Mario Kart Tour, well, stuff has aged fairly poorly anyway. But Mario Kart Tour has a new DLC, if you will, a new microtransaction. It's called the Diddy Kong Pack. Now, this Diddy Kong Pack is €44. That's right. This is a free-to-play, microtransaction-laden Nintendo game with a microtransaction of €44. For this €44, in this pack, you get 90 rubies, 1 quick ticket, and Diddy Kong himself as a character. I don't know much about this game. All I know is €44 for what is essentially a character pack and something else in there too is fucking ludicrous. This is also the same game that has a recurring subscription service in a mobile game to play. Something Nintendo's quote about not wanting to seem greedy in microtransactions in their mobile games, something aged super hard 6 months ago. So I think this is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. And you know what's scary? People are probably still going to buy this. Some people are probably still going to buy this, absolutely. Now, apparently Mario Kart Tour is a bit of a flop of a game, and, well, justifiably a lot of people seem very pissed off about this whole, not just this situation with the €44 Diddy Kong pack, but the whole monetization around the game. Apparently they've gone slippery slope and just been completely gone off the deep end in that regard and just thrown microtransactions everywhere, just like fuck me up with money, fam, because they've seen how much money they can make in some of their other games, and they want more and more and more and more. It's getting greedy and greedier and greedier and greedier. Now, of course, there's only one other thing I have to say about this topic. It's very, very worrying, very, very disheartening at even the potential idea of this happening. But how long is it before we see Nintendo put this stuff into their high-profile AAA first-party console games? It's going to happen. It's absolutely going to happen. How long and how bad is it going to be? Now, next up, let's talk about the best gaming platform ever. Because it's so innovative, adds so many more features, and does so much of everything. That's why everyone loves it. That's why it's the biggest gaming platform in the world, and that's why it is everyone's default and de facto. We're talking about Steam, of course, because everyone loves Steam, except maybe Tim Sweeney and the Chinese. But we're looking at a new feature that Steam is coming out with, because remember, Steam actually does actively improve and develop, despite what anyone else will tell you. But yes, many, many new features in Steam that you don't see anywhere else. And this one, we're talking about what they're calling the new Remote Play Together feature. It allows online multiplayer using games that are local co-op only, or have local co-op modes if you want to use them. Now, apparently this will automatically work with all applicable games. Basically, it automatically works with any game that has local co-op. And it's planned to go live in a beta stage during the week of October 21st. Now, so far, there's no word if all players need the game or just a host and they can work on it from there. So it's going to be curious to see how it works being integrated with Steam and whatnot. Now, services like this already exist in several different forms on several different platforms. There's a version of it on the Xbox. There's the SharePlay on PlayStation 4. There's even software variants of it on the PC. So you have stuff like Parsec and whatnot too, because that will allow you to install it and just play the same thing. It will stream the game over to the other person, and it will send their input back and forth and the visuals back and forth and all too. But I'm always curious to see this type of feature being developed by a high-profile developer and high-profile qualified studio, if you will, or studio or developer, publisher, whatever it is, like Valve. And it being natively built in and integrated into their entire platform, like intrinsically at a base level. I think this will probably turn out to be the best option down the line. Now, most importantly about this, I don't know if I'll test it when it comes in as beta stage or if I'll wait till it comes to its full stage. We have to see what the performance and all is like. But Overcooked 1, baby. Overcooked 1. Local multiplayer only. So, this seems like the real deal for that. That's why I want to try it. What do you want to try it for? And our last bit of updates and news and whatnot we got here today is some really strange stuff coming out of Ubisoft. I'm not talking about their games, which are always questionable and have dire consequences. But no. We're looking at Ubisoft's announcement that they are going to be making animated TV shows based on some of their IPs and properties. You heard that correctly. Animated TV shows. Now, usually straight away you would automatically consider, oh yeah, they'll make cartoons of Rayman for kids and whatnot too, Rabbids, all that stuff. It gets a little bit weirder. There will be an animated TV show spin-off related to Rayman, Far Cry Blood Dragon, Watch Dogs, and Hungry Shark. So Rayman and Hungry Shark are obviously for kids. Watch Dogs is, and I quote, going to be turned into a show, an animated show, as a mystery show for tweens. That's right. Watch Dogs is going to be an animated mystery show for tweens. I don't even know. Captain Laserhawk, a Blood Dragon vibe. Who knows the target market for that yet, because it could go completely over the top like Blood Dragon. It could appeal to people my age because of the whole 80s aesthetic and whatnot too. But it's just strange. it's just strange. And not to mention as well that it's already confirmed that Ubisoft are working with Netflix to have a live action The Division film at some point too. All of this stuff though, yikes, woo lad is all I can say. I don't know how this is going to go. I'm probably not going to watch any of this stuff, but I can't wait to see much of it get completely panned and destroyed. Who knows, maybe they'll all be Epic exclusive. That's Ubisoft's new jam these days. But I just want to reiterate it one more time. Watch Dogs is being adapted to an animated TV show. A mystery animated TV show for tweens. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what to say about that either. That's just... Yikes. Anyway, that's it for this week. We'll move on and close out, round out with the best, most interesting and most important segment that we have every single week. We have Q, what's going on? What's the deal? What's up? What are you doing? What are you playing? Well, I have basically been playing nothing this week. I am just out of gaming this week. I'm so lethargic in that regard. I'm so apathetic towards it. I got my Sega Mega Drive Mini the other night. I had a stream of that for about 3.5 hours. Tried out every single game on there. That was great fun. I'm looking forward to get back and playing a little bit more of it too. I do want to start Yakuza Kiwami 2 at some point. I was going to be starting it much, much later, but with how boring everything has been and just how out of it, I think that's going to be coming sooner rather than later. Final Fantasy VIII Remastered is still just... whoosh, it's still in the existing pile, but I haven't played it in like a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. It's just... every time I try, it just doesn't happen. I've been playing a decent amount of Gears of War 5, Horde, and Versus as well. Horde is obviously the big deal, but I just get more and more apathetic towards it every time I play it. So that's not a good sign. AEW Dynamite has still been the big one. I've been watching that. I'm enjoying that too. AEW Dark is on there as well. And funny enough, I just put out a video earlier today. I recorded it last night, but it was one of the looking back, one of the musing looking back videos about how AEW got me back into wrestling, what it meant to me, wrestling as a kid, as it is now, being out of it for almost 20 years. It's an interesting one, if you can stomach me just kind of rambling for 40 odd minutes. I don't know why you wouldn't, otherwise you wouldn't be here listening to this part of this video. But that's pretty much it. There's so little coming out over the next little while. I believe in just over a week, if not close to 2 weeks, I should have my Capcom Home Arcade, followed a couple of days later by Luigi's Mansion 3, and in around the same time, we'll have Medieval. Hopefully that gets going pretty well, but yeah, it's just not... I'm just not feeling anything lately, really. I do want to play a bit more. I've even considered going back and start playing The Sims 4 a little bit, but that's one of those things. I do want to start one of the chill games, if you will. Sometimes I just need to unwind. I just need to sit there, maybe throw some headphones on, just play one of those nice relaxing games. I've considered starting Stardew Valley in that regard. I mean, I've only been putting it off for 4 years at this point now, so maybe I'll finally get around to it. I've even slowed down on some of the PVM stuff, the old school, be it the Mega Drive, the NES, the SNES, the whatever it is I want to play on it. Even that slowed down a little bit. So that's kind of yeah, basically. But that's pretty much it for the moment. We've got to wait and see whatever happens next. Maybe there'll be a new co-op game. Roll on April 2020. Actually, there's a new one that I even completely forgot about when it came to Doom Eternal being delayed. Within a month of Doom's release, we have April 2020 when Borderlands 3 will finally properly release after it's already been early access beta tested and the bugs ironed out. And who knows, maybe we might even finally have one version of Halo Reach on PC by then. Who knows? It's still a good bit away. Anything could happen at that point. I'm sure there's some other games that I'm completely forgetting right now as well. I know Pokemon is coming out next month, but that's for another episode. Anyway, that's it for this week on episode 28 of our lovely little Quack Experimental Podcast. As always, I want to thank everyone for sticking with me through this entire thing. I'm sure something has piqued your interest at this point. In which case, feel free to leave it in the comments section below, as well as if you have anything interesting that you want to hear my little 2 cents on. You can slide into the DMs on Twitter. They are open for the exact same reason, among other things too. But anyway, until then, I will see everyone next week. You can feel free to hit the appropriate button to let me know how I did on the video, and while you're at it, why not head on over and hit the subscribe button and even ring the little notification bell so you can get that glorious little notified update every weekend when we put out one of these lovely little gorgeous episodes. Anyway, as always, I want to thank everyone for watching, and remember, winners don't play switchboards.